Hello, I'm Askar Sherlief, and here are the latest updates from Kazakhstan. A well-known public figure, Vladimir Kozlov, was arrested on Friday. The famous activist of the unregistered party Alga was detained right in front of the prosecutor's office in Almaty, where he came to complain about the prior actions of the police.
Давай быстрее, бегу. Бегом, давай! Быстрее, быстрее!
An activist of the unregistered party Alga, Vladimir Kozlov, was arrested yet again. When he came to the prosecutor's office to complain about the illegal detention by the police, he was immediately seized again. On Thursday, the politician and his colleagues came to Almaty's downtown with leaflets in support of the convicted former head of Kazakhstan, Mukhtar Jakishev. The police detained him and 5 other activists, called their actions illegal. Later, all of them were released for the lack of evidence. Vladimir Kozlov identified 5 violations of the criminal code and constitution of Kazakhstan in the actions of the police and explained his reasoning back when he was gathering signatures under the appeal to the prosecutor's office.
Кроме того, мы обращаем внимание прокурора Алмалинского района на то, что
In addition, we are drawing the attention of the Almala district prosecutor to the fact that his officer in civilian clothes was present at the scene, but she was just calmly observing the illegal actions of the police.
наблюдала за тем, как полиция осуществляет незаконные действия.
Gulnara Ahmediyeva was again at the scene today and again did not interfere in the process or gave any comments about it.
Объясните, вот вчера и сегодня, что здесь происходит?
Please explain what is going on. Why was Mr. Kozlov arrested? Aren't you supposed to perform your duties now?
Вы же сейчас тоже исполняете служебные обязанности ваши.
Apparently, the district policemen are also men of few words. The press was not allowed to enter the office, thus forcing Kozlov's companions to communicate through the fence.
Примечательно, что задержали только его одного, хотя...
Interestingly, he was the only one detained, even though all the rest of us were also at the square. Evidently, we did not do anything criminal, but he did. This is probably a sign of bias and political games. After being kept for 3 hours in the police department, Vladimir Kozlov was taken to the administrative court of Almaty.
It was later revealed that the administrative court sentenced Kozlov to 10 days in jail. Right after the verdict, the activist commented on the sentence.
Суд не привел ни одного признака того.
The court failed to provide a single reason for finding my actions during the demonstration illegal. Thus, the court once again supported law enforcement agencies and proved that there's no justice in Kazakhstan.
В сторону полиции и прокуратуры.
Meanwhile, new details have emerged in the murder investigation of the well-known Kyrgyz journalist Gennady Pavlyuk. Kazakh special services now have the list of suspects, all of them the citizens of Kyrgyzstan. This information was reported on Friday by the leader of the Kyrgyz party Atamiken, Omirbek Tikibayev, who was summoned to Kazakhstan for questioning.
The meeting with Kazakh investigators took place on March 26 at the customs post Korday in Kazakhstan. These precautionary measures were dictated by the Kazakh side. According to the senator, members of Kyrgyz security services are suspected of killing the journalist. During the past 6 months, Tikibayev, a member of the party Atamiken, was working closely with Gennady Pavlyuk on a joint media project. This was already the 3rd interrogation of Tikibayev done by Kazakhstan operatives. Kazakh representatives in the OSCE said that this was obviously politically motivated murder. They have determined the number of individuals involved in Pavlyuk's murder, who are the officers of Kyrgyzstan's counterintelligence.
Nurjan Joldasbekov attempted to refute the accusations of political commissioning. He is the same judge who announced the now infamous verdict to the former head of Kazakhstan, Mukhtar Jakishev, and his bodyguard. Previously avoiding contact with the press, he suddenly decided to make the details of the case public on March 26 in Astana. Perhaps for greater impartiality, the families of the convicted were not allowed to be present at the press conference.
During a special press conference, the judge Nurjan Joldasbekov stated that the verdict to Mukhtar Jakishev was fair, adding that the case was not commissioned. He further explained that the court proved that the former head of Kazakhstan is guilty of embezzlement and taking bribes, causing nearly $5 million worth of damage to the state.
I believe that it is wrong to say that this trial was commissioned by the higher authorities.
Despite the court specifying that Jakishev acted as part of an organized criminal group, only he and his bodyguard, Talgat Kustaubayev, were sentenced to imprisonment. The former vice presidents of the national company were released for assisting the investigation.
They are now the subjects of the Witness Protection Program according to the Article 100 of the Criminal Procedure Code. This is because another case linked to uranium deposits is being investigated at the moment.
Meanwhile, Jakishev's wife commented the situation outside of the courtroom. She tried to refute the statements of the press conference organizers, but was not allowed inside. As I understand, they are really afraid of the questions I might ask them in the response to their speeches. This suggests that they are doing their best to conceal the truth and present the opposite to the public. Jakisheva says that the examination of the verdict by the convicted and his defender was intentionally protracted, as the deadline for the appeal expires tomorrow.
Meanwhile, the trial on the case of statisticians continues in Astana. The defendants are the very officials who, according to the prosecution, deceived Kazakh citizens during the national census last year. The process is evidently gaining momentum, as attorney Nurlan Beysikeyev said on Friday that his client Nurman Bayanov has nothing to do with the pocketed millions.
The trial against the statisticians has reached its midpoint as the Yesil District Court of Astana began the examination of episodes related to the embezzlement of funds during the national census. The defendants are the vice chairman of the statistics agency Nurman Bayanov and Berlik Menderbayev, as well as the businessman Serik Turjanov. The hearing began with the interrogation of witnesses, the former officers of the agency who were involved in the creation of the budgetary requests for the census. Attorney Nurlan Beysikeyev intends to prove the innocence of his client Nurman Bayanov.
Everyone heard the testimony of the witness who clearly explained that during the preparation of the request, Bayanov was not yet working in the agency. Thus we can contend that Bayanov is not related in any way to the mentioned amounts.
The judge Yolanta Serov reported that starting March 29th, hearings will be held every day, and 10 witnesses will be heard during the next one. The ex-chairman of the statistics agency, Anar Meshimbayeva, is wanted by the Interpol, being accused by the financial police for pocketing more than $4 million.
The shares of the seaport Vitino in the White Sea have been arrested due to the charges of BTA Bank against Mukhtar Ablyazov. This information appeared in the article of the Russian newspaper Kommersant published on Friday. Reportedly, the shares belong to offshore companies which, according to the investigation, are linked to the ex-head of BTA Ablyazov. The latter was declared wanted by Kazakh law enforcement agencies on the charges of embezzling funds of the bank. The officers of the investigative committee of the Russian Internal Affairs Ministry declined to comment on the situation.
I do not know anything about it, and I will not talk to the investigator about it, as I know that he would not tell me anything. We do not conduct public examinations, and we cannot report on every single interrogation. The leak could originate from someone who was interrogated. So go ahead and ask her, not us. We will not give any more comments.
Representatives of the port are also not ready to talk about the issue. Moreover, they themselves learned about the situation from the press.
We really have just started reading the article in Kommersant and now are trying to sort out this nonsense. Right now you can find out whether it is true only from Kommersant.
Meanwhile, a new scandal linked to the customs union is developing in Kazakhstan. The opposition is against the country joining the alliance. Representatives of left-center political parties and social movements, as well as journalists of independent media, appealed to the President Nazarbayev, Prime Minister Masimov and MPs, saying that Kazakhstan was acceded to the Russian customs territory without the people's consent.
Quote, Pavel Borodin, the state secretary of the union between Russia and Belarus, is openly stating that they plan to restore some semblance of the Soviet Union. But the citizens of Kazakhstan are not willing to turn back the history, nor return to the colonial past. The statement was signed by Mukhtar Shakhanov, the chairman of the civil movement National Language, and Jarmahan Tuyakbay and Bulat Abilov, the leaders of the National Social Democratic Party Azat. In total, there are over 700 signatures under the statement.